Hi, my name's Elizabeth Harris and today I am going to be doing a tutorial on how to do a marble cake. Now this effect looks brilliant and it looks great in all different colours. I'm going to do a white and grey and black one today. Not too dissimilar to this, but I'm not going to do it as dark, but I'm going to show you the method and then you can have a go at home and play around with all different colours. So I'm going to be using some white sugar paste, some black and some grey, and I've kneaded these so they're nice and pliable. I'm going to cut my white into two and I'm just going to go ahead, give it a quick knead, and then I'm going to roll it out into a long sausage because I want it to be long enough to be able to twist the other ones with it. So there's number one, and now I'm going to do another one with this piece. And roll another sausage. Number two, exactly the same with my grey. Make sure it hasn't got any air pockets inside, so make sure you give it a good squish together before you roll it. That's my number three, and then my smallest one is going to be my black. You don't need much black for it to have quite a lot of effect, so I'm just going to use a skinnier black. Okay, so I've got my four sausages, roughly around the same length, doesn't need to be exact, and I'm going to do white, grey, white, black. Okay, so I'll put them like that so you can see, and now I'm going to start to twist them. So I'm going to hold my top, I'm just going to start to twist over. A bit like plaiting, but easier. I'm just going to twirl that. So I've twisted them all over. Now I'm going to twist them round. That's going to be my easiest way. Don't worry if that bit breaks. At this point, we're just all about getting the twist. So I've got my twist in there. Give that a little squish together and give it a roll. If it starts to come apart a bit, just give it a really good squeeze. Okay, so I'll give it a roll now. You want to make it long enough so that you can fold this over and twist again. So I'll just keep rolling. And I'm twisting this as well as I'm rolling, so you can see that already I'm getting a swirl effect. Now I'm going to half it. So I'll do this facing you. So I'm going to half it and twist it again. So I've rolled it, I've twisted it, squished it, rolled it again, halved it. So if you can think, roll, twist, squish, half, you're nearly there. So I'm going to roll this again, I'm going to squish this all together, make sure it's all in one piece, then give it another roll. I'm going to half it again and twist it again. Now I've done quite a tight twist on that one. Squish that together. Now if I wanted to, if I was to roll this out now, I would still get a marble effect, but it would be much, much chunkier. And I would quite like to get a bit of a tighter marble effect. So I'm going to squish that all together nice and tight. And give it another roll. I'm just going to hold on there and just keep rolling that around so I keep getting a nice turn, and then roll it out a bit more. Half it again, and I'm going to do this maybe 2 more times and then it'll be nearly ready to roll out. If I cut into this, I can see how marbled it is on the inside as well. So you can either, I'll show you 2 different ways of when you roll it out, how you can have a different marble effect. So I could now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend it in half, just give it a couple of twists and squish it, and then I'm going to roll it out as one big piece. The other way you can do it is I could cut this up into say 8 or 9 pieces turn them all on their sides and place them all together, and then I could squish that together and roll that out, and that would give you another marble effect, but the marble would be going more in different directions as opposed to a bit more of a flow that you can see in this one. So I'm going to stick to it this way. So I'm going to do, and now I'm going to squish it all together and it's ready to roll. Push it down there. Okay. I'm just going to put a little bit of icing sugar underneath my rollout icing. I don't want too much because I don't want to dry it out, but also if you have too little, then your piece of sugar paste is just going to stick to your surface. And if you have spent all that time making a nice marble effect, and when you go to turn it, it rips because it's stuck, it's quite disappointing. So make sure you've got some icing sugar. So I've got my big heavy weighted rolling pin here, and I'm just going to roll. And I want to take this piece of icing until I know it's big enough to fully cover my cake. So the cake I'm going to cover today is actually a hexagonal cake, and for the purpose of this tutorial I'm using a dummy polystyrene cake. So normally I would have a cake that has either been flawlessly buttercreamed, which you can see in another tutorial that I've done also on my channel, or I would have marzipaned it because it would be for a wedding. So, but this, because it's polystyrene, I've covered it in a thin layer of Crisco, which is an American product, but it's exactly the same as something like Trex or vegetable fat. So the Crisco that I've covered the polystyrene in looks like this, and I ordered it online, but quite often I can just buy Trex vegetable fat, that kind of thing. It'll have the same effect. You can also, if you want to do a dummy cake, say it's just for display, you can just cover it in water, just get a paintbrush and lightly put water all over it. I've got my hexagonal polystyrene dummy cake here that I've just covered lightly in a little bit of Crisco, just so the icing will stick on it. So I'm going to hold the cake over my rolled out sugar paste and check that it's going to be big enough. And I tend to do this by eye. You can always measure up, across and down and make sure you've got that measurement all the way around. But I'm going to do this by eye for now. So to cover this cake, I'm going to flip my rolled out icing over my pin. I'm going to place my dummy in front of me, and I'm just going to gently make sure the sugar paste is just about touching your board. Whoop. And I'm just going to place this over the top. Like so. So I've got my flexi smoothers here, and I'm just going to smooth all over the top. Just make sure that's nice and flat and smooth. And then just with my hands, I'm just going to gently brush down each of the corners. I'm just going to move around my cake here. And if you notice, I'm not pulling hard down on the icing. I'm pulling it almost away from the corner, and that's what's going to give you that nice even shape. I'm just going to turn it again. Now this one's might be a little bit short. So let's just see how we go. And I'm just going to, oh no, I think we'll be okay. Just going to, with the heat of my hand there, just smooth that in. And in a moment, I'm going to fix that with the flexi smoother. Okay, so that's that one. And then I'm just going to gently tease my icing out there, not pulling it down, just pulling it out. Okay, so now I've got that all the way to the bottom there. I'm just going to cut off, I'll show you at the front here, about an inch all the way around, giving it a bit of a lip. And then I'm just going to take that off. So I've just cut off an inch, and I've just given it a bit of a lip, half an inch to an inch all the way around, and taken off my excess. I'm just going to make sure this is covered in a bag now, because I don't want that to dry out. So I'm going to put that to one side. And now, if I want this to be lovely and flawless at the bottom as well, like this one is here, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take another board, nice flat board, just a little bit of icing sugar on it. I'm going to flip it on top of my cake, and I do this with real cakes as well as polystyrene cakes. And I'm going to flip it over and take my bottom board off. And just quite quickly, I'm going to move around the cake. I'll just pop this on my Lazy Susan to make it easier. And I'm just going to move around the cake and lift up the excess icing so that with my knife, I can cut off a really neat line. And can you see there, that was where I had that, let me show you there. That was where I had that little fold. So just with my hand, I'm going to pull that up and just smooth it. And I can do that with the heat of my hand. If you feel like it's not really working as well as you'd like it to, just take one of your smoothers and smooth over it. And you should be able to get it how you want it. So I'm just going to go all the way around with my Flexi Smoother. So I've still got this lip all the way around on my cake. I'm going to take my knife and I'm just going to place it to where the cake meets the icing. And I'm going to cut a line all the way along. Okay, and don't feel you have to rush this part. You want to get this line nice and neat. Okay, so I've just nearly finished my cutting there, all the way around. There we go. And again, if that hasn't got cake crumbs on it or buttercream, then you can keep it and pop it in the bag with the rest. Okay, now I'm just gonna run my hand all the way around, just smoothing that edge. And with my other board, pop it back on top. Now, if you're going to do a cake and this is going to be your bottom tier, you might want to ice the board you're now going to put back on so that you've already got your bottom base iced. But for this purpose of this tutorial, we're just going to flip it back onto this board. There we go. And I'm going to go over that with one of my Flexi Smoothers just to make sure we're nice and flat. Yeah, and I think that is looking pretty good. So that is how you marble a cake. And I think if you want to do it as a middle tier of a cake like I've done on this one, it's really effective. And on this one you can see I've actually just added some silver leaf, which just adds an extra little wow factor to your cake. So I'm going to show you how to do this on this one. It's quite straightforward how to do, and it doesn't have to be done in perfect lines. You can do it almost a little bit messy, looks nicer sometimes, especially when you're going to do it straight onto the marble. So I'm going to show you that now. So if I could follow the lines of the marble, I could go up and down. I don't really want to go across the marble because it won't be following what's meant to look like the grain. So I've got some silver leaf here. This is available online. I would really recommend that when you buy silver leaf, you buy it with a backing transfer. So you can buy it loose or you can buy it with a transfer on the back of it. Having the transfer on the back of it means that I don't have to touch it with my fingers. If you've ever worked with gold or silver leaf before, you'll know that it is attracted to moisture like you won't believe. And if your fingers are slightly moist or tacky and you touch it, the leaf just clings to it. So try and buy it with the transfer on the back. And what I'm going to do is, I don't want to put the whole leaf straight onto my cake, so I am very carefully just going to cut a line. Do this quite slowly because it will want to come off the transfer. So there we go, I've just cut a line there. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of water. You can see that onto that bit of marble there, and I'm just going to pick that up, and I don't have to put the whole thing on, but I can just literally let some of that leaf go on there. tiny bit there. Now if you don't want it to be like a neat line, because this has water on it as well, you can always do little bits through it. Just to make it a bit more jagged. I actually quite like it when it looks a little bit rougher. And you can follow the lines of the marble. You can put random pieces on here and there. So I'll just apply a bit more. I'll put some, let's see, let's put some on here. So I've got a couple of little pieces here. And we'll just put this up onto this bit here. So I'm just literally going to take my transfer and just let that grip onto it there. I'm going to cut another little piece. I mean, you can do these really thin if you like, and that looks really nice, or you can do them chunky. It depends on what your marble cake is like, how chunky the marble is, I would say. So I've done a bit of a thinner one here, and you can see it's already wanting to come off my transfer there. So I'm just going to really gently hold on to that bit there. And I'm going to put, let's do a bit on this side here. Where's my water? There it is. This is just water. I haven't mixed it with anything. It's not got corn syrup in, it's not edible glue, it's just a little bit of water. Put a bit there. So you can start to see how nice this silver leaf effect can be. So I'm going to put a bit more on this side. And I'm going to do this into more of a point on this one. You don't need a lot of silver leaf for it to be effective. So don't worry about buying sheets and sheets and sheets of it. You just need a couple of sheets. So that is how you apply silver leaf onto a marble cake. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Thanks for watching.